So recently, I got a Nintendo Switch for Christmas and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild to go along with it, and I have to say, it is a damn good Zelda game. I can't tell how many hours I've spent playing this game, but it has to have been at least 30 hours or more, because I pulled an all-nighter and trust me, it was worth it. If you haven't played any Zelda games before, this is definitely the game that I recommend you play to get into it. It perfectly visualizes the style that the Zelda series has had for many years and perfects gameplay, in my opinion. However, one thing that I found myself to be disappointed with in this game is the lack of oomph in the soundtrack. Through every Zelda game that I have played, what always stuck with me were the amazing songs that play throughout, whether it be from a dungeon to Hyrule Field or even a village. Every game seems to have songs that perfectly represent the game itself. Breath of the Wild does have a soundtrack that represents itself, but it's just so underwhelming and not as great as the other Zelda entries. And so, I will be counting down the top 5 songs in the Zelda franchise. Only rule is 1 song per game. I really am disappointed though with the lack of memorability in the songs with Breath of the Wild. Everything else about the game was so good, from the gameplay to the story and even the side quests. I love this game, but that's just a bit of criticism that I would like to throw out there. I do hope Nintendo manages to recapture the beauty in Zelda songs as they move on to the next original Zelda game. Kicking off the list, we're going to start with one of the classic Zelda games, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, or is Ocarina of Time? Google says it's Ocarina of Time, so it's Ocarina of Time, guys, so it's Ocarina of Time. Anyways, I may not have been born when this video game came out, but since I have been able to sit down and play a video game, I can tell you I had a blast playing this game. The first 3D Zelda game features many great songs, most of which could have easily made this list, but I had other choices to make. The songs in Ocarina of Time can be described as joyful, beautiful, frightening, and even downright disturbing. That's part of what makes Ocarina of Time a great game. The soundtrack is extraordinarily diverse and they all capture the mood that's being presented at the given time. But which song from Ocarina of Time deserves to be on this list? Well, that would be none other than the Song of Time, specifically the Temple of Time theme. There were so many other songs from this game that I could put on this list, so why the Song of Time? I think it's an important song. Remember, Ocarina of Time is about the hero of time, the hero that travels through time to slay Ganon and restore peace to Hyrule. This song is not only a great piece, but is important to the game itself. The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess is a beautiful game, and the soundtrack that goes along with it perfectly represents the beauty within this game. Since the game has a definitively big pool of songs to choose from, I'm gonna make this simple and give this spot to the Hyrule Field theme. At night. This song is legitimately just a peaceful song that's honestly amazing to listen to as you ride aimlessly through Hyrule Field on Epona. That's all I have to say. It's just beautiful. Another great Zelda game that I never had the opportunity to finish, Wind Waker is a happy, colorful game that is visually pleasing, as well as pleasing with the songs. What better song to choose from than the Dragon Roost Island theme? Dragon Roost Island's theme is just a huge joyous pleasure which perfectly gives the player a taste of what this game holds for them. And that is what you call amazing. Being one of the more underrated Zelda games in my opinion, I believe Spirit Tracks also had some of the best songs in the series. Simply put, it really had more of a medieval feel to it. That's one of the reasons I got instantly attached to this game. The Legend of Zelda series has been a very diverse kind of fantasy series, and the medieval feel was a great step in keeping that diversity. However, the song in question that I chose doesn't fully reflect the medieval soundtrack, but I think it's close enough. Plus, it's just a damn good song. Another reason I really liked this game was because of how the flute was utilized so well. I love Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask so much because of the ocarina itself and how the songs were important to progress through the game. Spirit Tracks is the exact same thing, but not in a rip-off kind of way. I like how you actually had to blow on the DS to play the flute. It makes me feel like I myself am playing the instrument. The way the flute is utilized best in this game is through the use of duets. The final duet is with Princess Zelda herself, and the song turns out to be beautiful. The sacred duet is not only important to the final battle and the game itself, but like I keep saying, it's such a good song. I really do think that Spirit Tracks is a really good Zelda game that has an amazing soundtrack, but sadly, it's just overlooked. So we've come to the final spot on this list. The last song on this list comes from the most depressing Zelda game, Majora's Mask. This game is ultimately praised for its dark tones and sad messages. It's good that a Zelda game manages to be dark and depressing in nature. It gives gamers a different view on the Zelda universe. What I believe to be the saddest parts of this game is the deaths of the characters. Specifically the ones you have to quote-unquote heal. The first character that you encounter to be affected by the dreaded Majora's Mask is the Deku Butler's son. Once you get to the end of the first area of the game, you see a dead Deku, who we later figure out to be the Deku Butler's son, as he mourns over the Deku in the credits. We next see the spirit of Darmani, who we have to heal in order for his spirit to be healed. The last you see of death and healing is of Mikau of the Zoras. As Mikau is dying, you have to heal him to put him at rest. Once you do, you see his grave. It's also important to note that the masks that Link can transform with are all manifestations of the fallen characters, which is kinda creepy actually. All of these songs are connected by the Song of Healing. Remember how I talked about the importance of songs? This one in my opinion is probably the most important to any Zelda game because of the depressing nature put into this game. The Song of Healing itself sounds not sad, not really happy, but it's just an overall emotional song. The song is probably the most beautiful song I've heard in any Zelda game, and it deserves to be number one on this list.